sometimes we want to see if there are any relationship between two types of data, like months of the year, average, and the average temperature in a certain town. And like this one, we want to see the price of a car and the age of the car. Okay, this would be like used car salesmen wanting to they have some data here, and they have the price of their car here. Excuse me, the age of the car there, and we have the price here. And so what they did is they did an XY graph, and they just took all this data and they made it into a graph. And you can see here where they plotted it. I want you to notice that it's not in like a straight line, but notice it has a kind of a line that could be drawn kind of in the middle of it. Okay, and so we're going to talk about that a little later. They won't talk about in this lesson, but eventually you'll have a line put in there, and that line will have an equation like you've been learning in all the other things. And finding that equation of that line is really mathematically complicated. They take like the average of all the x's and all the y's to kind of get it, but you won't have to do it, so it's no stress. Okay, we'll let the computer do it for you, but there'll be an equation for that line, and for the first couple of them, you'll actually plot the x and y graph, but then eventually you'll bring your computer, and I'll show you how to do this on your computer. Okay, all right, so there's there's another example here. We got watching television, we got watching TV, and so they took the hours spent watching television, and then their test scores, and they graphed those. So if, notice over on this side, you grab the graph. This is your test scores, right over here. Yep, my bad. These are your test scores right here, and these are the number of hours on television. Notice that as it increased the number of hours on the television, notice how your test scores go down. But notice that there's not a line that can go on there exactly through all the points, but there's like this general idea that the points are going downhill. Okay, and so real life doesn't always happen in exact perfect lines, but there's at least a trend that it's following, and it's going downhill. Okay, let's go to another one over here. Let's go to running, and this should seem somewhat logical also, that the more you run, the longer that you run in minutes, that your heart rate will go up. Okay.
Yeah, it makes almost.
Yeah, and it's this one's almost kind of curvy as it's going up, not quite of a line either. But eventually, we'll learn you'll graph 0,65, that's what this point is right here. Okay, and then you'll graph 1,68, and that'll be that point there, and so forth. And you'll plot those on an X and Y graph. We'll do a couple of those, but then mostly you'll do them on the computer. Okay, all right. And these are called scatter plots. And so they're called scatter plots because you're plotting points, but they're not going to be in exact straight lines. They're going to be kind of scattered here and there. But like these, they're going to actually have.
Yes, you actually just repeat them.
A trend, okay, that they go in downhill here, and then eventually we will be able to draw a line on them. The computer will. Okay. All right. What they're going to have you do throughout this lesson is to determine a relationship. Is there a relationship between the age of a mid-sized car and its price? Yes, there is a relationship. Notice there's some kind of a trend that's going down. Is there a relationship between watching television and your test scores? Yes, there is. There's a trend going, pretty good relationship. Now, the closer it is to a straight line, if they're really tight, closer, like this one, there's a better relationship than this one. Notice this one, they're spread up way up above and below. This one has a pretty close, it's lots closer to a straight line. This is a better relationship, a better linear relationship. This one doesn't meet a line very well. Maybe it's a different kind of equation because it's kind of curvy. Okay, all right. So they're going to have you look at the data and say, is there a relationship? On this one, the relationship was the age of the car, the price goes down. This one, the relationship says that the more you watch television, the lower your test scores.
Yeah.
This relationship is the more you run, the higher your heart rate gets. Okay.
Yeah.
These were going down. This one's going up.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think that's going to help you. We're going to go over some examples, but we won't do it on here. Okay.
Okay.